What is up, everyone? We are back today in a different location. Me and Henry are slowly moving back into college for our new semester, so getting a glimpse of the dorm here. But today, just me today, we're going to be reviewing the season two premiere of Batwoman, and this is an episode that's had a lot of hype going into it. Just because, for those who don't know, the original Batwoman actress Ruby Rose left the show, and instead of recasting, they just created a whole new character called Ryan Wilder, and they casted Javicia Leslie from the series God Friended Me in the movie Always a Bridesmaid to portray this character, and she's black, she's lesbian, she's been this source of a lot of hype and intrigue because people were like really excited to see that this new face of the hero, and that people were wondering how they would be able to transition from Kate Kane, Rose's character, to Ryan Wilder. And I have to say, I really enjoyed. Excuse me. I really have to say, I really enjoyed how they pulled it off. It was it we didn't. They kept the scope small. They kind of just like threw us right into it, and for being a transition between a whole new protagonist with a whole new backstory and whole new perspective, it wasn't too bad. Honestly, it wasn't too bad. Or let's see. Let's start with Kate Kane. So this is a spoiler review. So the whole idea of her like disappearing in a plane crash, I mean, it's the best. I think like in a way that like it casts a large general like umbrella. Like so many things could have happened to her, but also like kind of leaves it like open ended. My hope is that before the show ends, hopefully not soon, is that Ruby Rose does return to the show just to wrap that plot line up. I mean, you can't have. I think it wouldn't feel right if the show ended and Ruby Rose never came back to the show. She was the original Batwoman, so it wouldn't feel right. But I mean, for creating a sort of like situation where she's not around, it wasn't. It was. It was what it was. So, and it worked well. It plane crashed, and her costume literally fell at Ryan Wilder's feet. And what I'm really excited about for this season is how they're setting up Ryan Wilder in comparison to Kate Kane, because Ryan Wilder, they're both similar in that they come from places with a lot of baggage, and they have like their own demons to fight. But Ryan Wilder comes from this distinct place of not wanting to be like a symbol. Like Hiroshi says much when she meets Luke and Mary. And I'm really intrigued to see how that like she's already like rejecting like the she's in that part of the hero's journey. She's already rejecting like the call to be a hero because that's not on her list. That was never her priority. She just wants to survive. And I love the way the writers and Javicia gives that vibe, that like scrappy survivor vibe to the character, because I think it helps her makes her stand out even amidst her other CW counterparts, Barry Allen, Cara Zor-El, etc. So I think it's really cool to have like this character who's just who has other things on her mind, namely putting like food on the table, like having a place to live, rather than going out and like risking her life. And I'm intrigued to see how she like learns that ever classic lesson of with great power comes great responsibility. And I think for that alone, I think that's going to help make it a strong season overall. I think that type of like character arc could bear a lot of good fruit. So excited to see how the writers pull that off, because I think they set up like her being like an ex-con, her being like kind of like forgotten amongst Gotham, like she's like a regular citizen, and like she's kind of thrown into this. I think there's a lot to show that like transition to being a hero, which I think is going to be pretty cool. As for Javicia herself, I really enjoyed seeing her in the character. She's her own form of snarky, of um how was just snarky and like scrappy. She's got her own sense of humor, her own sense of like wit, which I enjoyed seeing play off like mainly Luke and Mary. But I don't know. I think she's definitely she doesn't act the writers and Javicia do. She's not a clone of Kate. Like she's a completely different entity, and I'm really I really enjoyed her charisma, her own kind of just sort of like realistic, like blunt wit, which I think it's definitely like even though like Black Lightning and Supergirl is like ending, and Flash and Legend of Tomorrow have only so many seasons left in them, I do hope she gets a chance to play off the other Arrowverse characters, because I still feel like in true like Gotham City citizen tradition, they're always like their most out there bunch, and I feel like just watching her dynamic against everyone else is just really cool. On future Arrowverse connections and interactions, I think will be awesome. In particular, I'm excited to see her interact with John Diggle, who's confirmed to be coming back, just because like the whole like, experienced hero versus inexperienced. I think Javicia, I think Ryan Wilder will have a lot of things to say, and I think Javicia Leslie, thus far has made a good impression on showcasing that charm and that like self-reliant personality. As for the rest of the cast, as for the rest of the episode, the whole Hush storyline, like they kind of wrapped. I originally before Ruby Rose left, I thought they were going to take that further, but I guess it wouldn't have made as much sense without that emotional connection. So they kind of just wrapped it up, and I mean, I wasn't totally invested, but I mean, I'm in some ways I am glad that they wrapped it, because I don't know, doppelganger stories can go only so many more ways, and you can't push that train too long. So I'm glad they kind of just wrapped that up and finished that. Um, yeah, I'm in no rush to see him again. No offense to the actor or anything. It's just I'm in no rush to see Hush again. What I am excited to see is more of Alice. I think Rachel Skarsten, as always, did a fantastic job playing Alice. My hands down, my favorite scene in the episode is when she confronts Jacob Kane. Like I got chills like watching that like scene, and like that was the best sense of like transitioning from season one and wrapping season one up while setting up season two. You see like Jacob Kane will have to deal with like so much like more baggage now. There's on top of everything else he had to deal with, as we saw in season one. So for Alice to like dig that metaphorical knife into him, that was really intense to watch, and it was really heartbreaking to see. And the shot where he kind of turns on the bat signal and no one answers, you see that like really come over him. I'm interested to see where he goes from there, how he processes all this. As for Alice, I love the idea that like her whole master plan is now over, and now she has no like sense of direction, at least until Sophia Sohail apparently makes contact. I don't know how much the show seems to suggest she may have been involved in Kate's disappearance, although again, given that Ruby Rose is not at this time scheduled to come back to the show, I don't know how long they'll like chase that angle. It's probably just Sophia playing mind games, but I'm definitely I want to see how like Alice, like she seems to have like latched on to Sophia as her new like target, like she did Kate. So I'm intrigued to see if anyone or the writers like or anyone in the show like references that like Kate's. There's just that Alice seems to always be just hunting and searching, and like she's always gonna like latch onto someone else. But it's like, will she ever actually find like peace? I think that would be an interesting angle to predict. And I think for right now, just the idea of like having a gang war and like Ryan Wilder and the rest of the crew like caught up in it, I think is going to be pretty interesting to watch. I just love watching Rachel Skarsten do her thing. She was arguably the strong. She was arguably gave like the best performance in season one. Not that anyone else's performance in season one was bad at all, but I think she definitely, her character was just this right mix of crazy and heartbreaking and like very like out of control. I'm intrigued to see her now again, like with the foundation season one gave her like ripped out from under, how she adapts to that. A lot of it is just like waiting to see what happens, but I do enjoy seeing how these characters have now like forced to like go through their own like mini rebirths in order to adapt to the missing of Kate Kane, the disappearance of Kate Kane, excuse me. So um yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's not too bad of a start. It was just a lot of it was just transitioning from season one to season two. Definitely off to a strong start with the Kane family dynamics as always. Just with that scene again between Alice and Jacob was perfect. Loved Javicia already. I'm excited to see how Ryan Wilder goes on her journey, and excited to see how this season shapes up. Really, it's gonna be a good time. Good time. I don't know if I'll be doing episode by episode reviews. Maybe I'll check in like if something like big happens, if an episode really like grabbed my attention. But at the very least, I will be doing the premieres of the other shows. So Superman, Lois, Black Lightning, Flash in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for all that. Me and Henry got some more stuff coming up as always. So Stay tuned, stay safe, and peace out.